We did a lot with state legislation, General Assembly, in doing K through 12 school security, mandated drills and stuff like that. Youth violence programs, drug awareness, facility tours, talk to people about the police careers, media interviews for the fluff. I call it the fluff stuff. The stuff that's like prevention, the stuff that the community is doing when there's a police involved shooting. We leave that to people who make just a little bit more than I do. But workplace safety, scouting, just a number of programs that the Division of Police may offer that usually comes out of our office. So, and that leads to, and I segue into Chief Denton because we do work closely with the Ohio State University Division of Police. Sir?
Thank you, Chris, and Julia would come up and join me. We've heard terms this morning like partnerships, collaboration, and I wanted to talk about some initiatives that the University Police Division have carried out with the Columbus Division of Police. Not to make any assumptions to begin, explaining that we are a full-service police agency. Our officers are certified through the state of Ohio. We're fully trained. We carry out the same functions and law enforcement role and mission as any municipal agency does, comparable in size and in fact almost larger than most of the suburban agencies in Franklin County. Our jurisdiction in area of responsibility, again, not to make assumptions with our audience this morning, is the Ohio State University campus proper. The property owned or managed, overseen by the Ohio State University. Technically, and this is very technically, our jurisdictional authority runs from the island in Lake Erie to the Pike County South Center, and all 88 counties that Ohio State has some form of presence, but our main force is deployed on the campus itself here in Columbus. The other areas that generally focused during my discussion are the off-campus communities that are identified by Columbus 4th Precinct. Stakeholders, the communities that I serve, my agency serves, are the students that go to the Ohio State University. Linked not only by geography, the physical presence on campus, but interest, and so interest in common goals, and so it extends to the area that they live off campus. We've heard about theories, and actually it's not by coincidence that I also list a SARA model on one of my slides. But our approach, the theoretical framework for some of your initiatives is the problem-oriented policing approach. The theorist is Herman Goldstein. And a problem is not what I say it is, as the police chief of the university or an officer says it is, but what community members define as problems. And although police problems, traditional crime matters are important, they're not problems in terms of problem-oriented policing in that sense. I think Mr. Caldwell mentioned that ownership of the problem. There are those issues and concerns that are owned by the community. When you're looking at how to fix those, repair those, it's not a quick fix. And the charge on me as a police administrator is doing exactly what Officer Riley mentioned. It's empowering the officer to make the decision, take action to solve or assist community members in solving those problems. And that's a stretch. You know, as we heard our presenter this morning, that police agencies tend to be very bureaucratic, very structured or hierarchical. The other component, again, we heard one of the speakers mentioned, it's evaluation of those. You have to have an evaluation component, you have to assess, and that's the assessment piece of the SARA model, to find out what you're doing is effective or not. You don't want to create the same task and prove it to be ineffective. I think it was one of Einstein's famous quotes, saying continuing insanity is continuing to do the same thing when you know that it's ineffective. The other model or theoretical framework is community-oriented policing, and there are many theorists, many researchers that have written and evaluated that. What that means to me is the philosophical approach. You heard it, the Strategic Response Bureau's mission and purpose of engaging that. In one term, if you want to summarize for me, the best sums up COP, community-oriented policing, and that's partnerships. We heard again, many speakers use that term. But the partnerships involve not just police agencies, social agencies, but it could be government, the church. We talked about media and engaging the media in a positive way to help address or resolve issues in the community. Certainly the many nonprofits, some of which you are represented here today, technologies and techniques as well. Two key pieces of research that were pertinent to some of the approaches and matters that I'll share with you. One is a study by Scott and Dedale, 2006. It talks about assaults in and around bars. Imagine that in the campus community in High Street. If there are any bars or places that serve alcohol, but yes, there are. We'll admit that, acknowledge that. But when you look at what alcohol does, it heightens emotions, increases risk-taking, reduces fear, and then who are your clients? More significantly, they are young male strangers who come together into those kind of environments. Under problem-oriented policing guidelines, and the conclusion of those researchers, it was that cooperation between business and regulatory agencies and enforcement are those elements that come together to help resolve some problems that they've identified. The other one is spectator violence. Again, imagine that there's spectators that come to Columbus and Ohio State, the University District for any reason. But we are a football town, and there's somebody said or told me that there is a football game that happens occasionally up in my jurisdiction. I was surprised to learn that when I took over the job. But the policing challenges, though, become a combination of issues. It's the event sponsors, and in a case of athletic events, it's the athletic department, the sports department, but it could be a concert promoter just as well. The fans themselves, the performers, whether they're talking about athletes or performers on a stage, musicians. And then the spectator aggression that sometimes results from that. We in the United States aren't used to the hooligans that they call it in European countries that attend soccer matches. But for us, for those people that come together and may rush a field or cause property destruction, physical aggression, kicking or shoving, whether that's actually in the sports or entertainment venue or off-campus areas. What the research has shown is this, that there are host communities do see escalating assaults, vandalism, disorderly conduct. But one thing that, to conclude, was really struck me was that there was a limited effectiveness in a police show of force in dealing with spectator violence. Again, limited effectiveness. You're not going to come out there with a large amount of officers in riot gear or some high visibility type of enforcement endeavor to really make a difference in changing the culture. Looking at what we've done in Ohio State, I think we have to change the culture of our game day activities to reduce spectator violence. Summarizing crime and civil disorder in the University District, look at many reasons. In that zip codes that make that up, that it's high density of residents, estimates between 7,500 and 11,000 people per square mile. More apartments, less ownership. We heard the issues mentioned by other presenters. And in our reality, that changes every 4 years. Whether apartments in and of themselves could be stable, and in the university's student populated district, we've got new residents every 4 years. We have to form relationships, build connections, and get to know. The party, bars, and nightlife, not a good thing or bad thing. It's just, again, reality. People like that, the openness and acceptance. We've heard people that want to move into the community for that kind of urban environment. But the danger or downside is it could lead to an anything goes attitude, that it's wide open and there are no sanctions or standards to that kind of community. It becomes attractive to non-students where there are academic pursuits around campus. Non-students could come in and see that as an invitation to do anything they want. And then in terms of Columbus and our